Hello, everyone. I have not done a webinar where I've been on camera in quite a while, so this is maybe much more similar to doing actual events. I am Victoria. Again, we are just about to get started. Um,
Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Carl, how's it going?
It's good. It's good.
It's good. It's good.
Cool. So just to start off, my name is Victoria. I am an evangelist at Zoho. And today we are here with Carl Alexander of Crown Bees. So most of this presentation will be Carl kind of leading the way, but then I'll be bringing in some of the questions that you all submitted via the registration form, and again, any questions you have in general. But Carl is the marketing director for Crown Bees, and Crown Bees recently launched a very successful webinar campaign that Carl is going to kind of walk us through, including the webinar itself, as well as a lot of the marketing that went into building that up. So, Carl, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Hey, everybody. Let's see. Let me switch my video on here. All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming, and Victoria, thanks for having me. I love kind of talking about our successes at Crown Bees using Zoho One. So I kind of want to just first introduce, our company, Crown Bees. We sell solitary whole nesting bees, bee houses, and all the accessories you need for bee raising. And it's mostly online on our site, crownbees.com. And a lot of our customer base, our customer interactions aren't just one time. We're not just selling you something and then that's it. We have a long-term relationship with our customers that spans the whole year. The bees fly during the spring and the summer, pollinating gardens and whatnot. But we also are helping our customers raise the bees while they're flying, take care of them while they overwinter in their cocoons, and then help them again in the beginning of the next season. So there's a lot of customer interaction. So when COVID hit and we had to start working remotely, we were really worried about how not just our inter-office communications, but how we would be communicating with our customers and how they would see us, right? Because there's a lot of uncertainty in everyone's lives at that time, and even through right now. And we wanted to make sure that our customers knew that we were still going to be here for them and be here for their bees, because that's a lot of who we are. We've been around for a little over 10 years, and we've got tens of thousands of customers that have been with us almost that long. We felt it was important for us to be able to reach out and communicate with them and let them know that we're still here for them. But it was really difficult working remotely, right? And suddenly working remotely. So what we did was we were already, at the time, we had just signed up. Well, not just, we had Zoho One for about 6 months, I'd say. But we were using it in a very minimal capacity, just for admin, for marketing and customer service, to a point, manufacturing and things like that. So we took a little bit of time to see what tools were available to us through Zoho One. Myself and a couple of the other administrators at Crown Bees pretty much went through all of the tools in the Zoho One toolbox and went through all their help pages and all their marketing pages and put together a list of the applications that might be applicable to us, and maybe offer us some new avenues that we hadn't explored yet as far as communicating and better supporting our customers. And through all that, one of the first things that we came across, obviously, was Work Drive, and being able to, we imported all of our old Google Docs into Work Drive, and now suddenly our entire team has access to all of our documents. We can be viewing them at the same time. But then, as I'm sure many of you guys out there are used to, we were totally used to, even though we were a small office, or because we were a small office rather, we were used to just walking into each other's office and bouncing ideas off and getting work done that way. And so when we started working remotely, we were really concerned with our productivity. So we started exploring how to use Click as far as our inner office, like quick communications. Rather than things getting lost in email, we could send a Click message or an image and get immediate feedback from our teammates. So we put in our put it on our phones and all of our laptops and desktops. So that really connected us. We found that our productivity obviously increased, and we started to get a hang of our business practices that were sort of disrupted because of COVID. And as we started to pull that together, we realized, you know, a lot of our customers are going through the exact same thing at home with their work and life situations, right? They're having a lot of issues communicating with friends and family. They are having to work remotely and trying to navigate that in many different ways than we had to navigate it. So we thought, you know, as far as going back to how can we keep this connection with our customers, we realized that we needed to have something in their face. Everybody is all day long in web meetings and webinars and making video calls, but they're feeling disconnected from their own personal lives and their own personal passions, which in our customers' cases is their gardens or their flowers or, you know, saving the environment, right? So that's when we decided to explore the idea of having a webinar. And we had never done one before, like a live webinar. We've made lots of videos, but we thought that having a live webinar where we could have our customers just like this, you know, interacting with us live, learning the things that they needed to learn at the time of the webinar, which in our case was how to raise mason bees or how to raise leafcutter bees. We thought that would be a good way to reach out. And so we started exploring the Zoho One tools, and Victoria, you can drive me through which ones we want to look at in what order. But we found a really wonderful combination of a lot of the Zoho One tools that in theory were supposed to help us promote this, make it physically happen, help us to organize it remotely from all the teammates working in different different locations. And so we had that theory of, okay, this should be able to work. And so we gave it a shot. And on our first, we had about less than a 2-week lead time to the first webinar that we were going to do. We had no idea what the customer response was going to be. We had no idea, really like technically how we were going to handle requests and questions and all that. We were just kind of jumping in. And the response was amazing. Our rooms filled up within hours. Our sessions filled up within hours. We had to purchase extra seats so that we could accommodate more people. And the response that we got back from the customers was incredible. And we realized that what we had done was really what we needed to do. We really needed to connect directly with our customers and have that interaction, have them be able to talk directly with our owner, who they've gotten to know over the last decade. And then with the live Q&A, with the chats, with the fact that all of the questions and everything were stored and we could respond to them later, we had all of these incredible interactions with our customers, not only increasing sales, but also just really letting them know that, hey, we're here, and hey, we're listening to you, and hey, we really care about you. We would not have had those interactions if we had just sat back and let our website do its thing. So, I mean, I suppose we can get into a little bit more about lessons that we learned and specifics how we did things, but that was kind of the impetus for why we started doing these webinars, and really why we did a lot of changes behind the scenes at Crown Bees, how we communicate with each other and how we communicate with our customer base.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That journey from figuring out kind of what you're missing and being able to fill that in. As far as kind of what order to go through the products, I think maybe we start at just at the beginning. You mentioned that issue with communication kind of runs beyond just communication with customers to communications with your peers and your colleagues. And so I think maybe we start with just that process of getting things rolling, communicating with yourselves so that you could then build up this communication with your customers.
Exactly. So um, this was like, I'm sure for a lot of you, this is a lot of new technology, a lot of new applications, a lot of new terminology that's being brought to the team. So what we decided to do after we went through our initial list of, okay, this is everything that Zoho One has to offer, and now these are the things that we think will be good for our team members. We had team sessions, team meetings that we put together through Zoho Meeting, where we shared screens and basically walked the team through the basic functions of each of the tools, and even more importantly for us, how each of these tools was going to integrate with the rest of the team. For example, hey, marketing team, you're going to be using campaigns and CRM, but all the data that you put in there and the interactions that you generate will be handled by customer service using Desk and whatever other survey and other apps that we have over here. So we gave the entire team sort of a broad understanding of the tools. And then each team leader we brought in and did basically a one-on-one session and said, okay, these are the Zoho One tools that you're going to be using. Let's show you how you're going to be using them. Because again, I'm sure all of you have looked at Zoho One and looked at the millions of configurations and all the different things that you can do with it. And it's easy to start thinking, hey, what can we do to use this tool in this way? And it's really, I found it was really helpful for us to think, okay, how can we use this tool for what we need it to do, right? And so that took a little bit of time, sort of fine-tuning what we as the administrators thought that our team members needed, and then getting their feedback and realizing, oh man, actually they really need to use it this way. So there was, I would say it was a good month of meeting with each of the team leaders, like I said, and then fine-tuning the process. And getting people on board. And the whole time we're doing this remotely, and we're doing it through Click. And just being able to look through all my teammates, see who's online and available, and say, hey, let's do a quick screen share. I want to show you some graphics or a video that I'm working on. Or hey, let's look at some marketing content that's about to go out in this newsletter to fine tune it before it goes out. To have that instant access was really incredible. And so over that month of training, we were actually using it in our live productions. And that's how we got really comfortable using that tool. So really starting with your team and how they're using the tools for them, and so as other small medium businesses look at these tools, I have to say, don't be daunted by all the options. Really find what you need and skim through the options and tick off those boxes for the things that you need. And through that process, we found that the tools that we thought we were going to be using to do X, Y, Z, we ended up using them to do slightly different things that have really helped us out in other ways. So at the core of it, like I was saying before, it was Work Drive, and Click. That was really getting our team dialed in.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say, that's a really great point. Just kind of starting with, all right, well, what do we need? And once you have your needs met, it's much easier to go beyond that and reach into these other facets. Before we move into that, though, how did you go about training both yourself and your whole team to use these products? Was it kind of you would go investigate and then train your team, or did you use a partner? How did that work for you?
So for me, I was really the Zoho fanboy of the team, and I knew it was my job to really get everybody on board. So I did the deep dive into, not really the deep dive, I wouldn't even say that. I just used the help pages from Zoho One. For each of the applications, they had a series of videos, they had a series of facts and like written manuals. And so what I did after going through all those, and I had a thorough understanding of the product, I just pulled out the articles and the videos that were important for my teammates. So I was the center point for getting all the information, sort of consolidating what was important. And then on our one-on-one or on our team meetings, that's when I would send links to these documents and to these videos. And because I was sending them links to your help pages or to the Zoho help pages, when they had additional follow-up questions, they could typically just type it into the search bar and answer it themselves. So that was the sort of learning and training process, and trial by fire, right? So we'd say, okay, today we are turning, desk on for this email address. So let's start monitoring these tickets as they come through, and tweak the system as we go along. Because luckily we were doing a lot of this after the peak season, our busy season when we're selling a lot of bees. So we could really focus on the processes.
Yeah. So one more question on that, and just kind of a short one. Was there kind of friction from the team as you were trying to move over to these other tools, or were people kind of excited to get that the centralized platform?
Right. So I wouldn't say there was friction. I mean, there was just a little bit of hesitation because it did seem so big. But they did see that I was really excited about it, and they did see the potential. So I didn't really have any pushback. Everybody was really into checking it out. And once I got to say, the ease of use, it was amazing, because once I kind of gave the initial push, people would dive in just to see how these products and how these processes could actually make their job easier. And once that light bulb clicked for each team leader, there was really, they were coming to me for more. It wasn't me pushing it at all. So it really speaks to the ease of use of the product. It wasn't just turn it on and then, now what do I do? It was turn it on, listen to Carl for an hour, click on these videos, and now you're up and running.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I thought so. I was so happy because I was worried too. I was worried, hey, Carl, we don't want to, we're in the middle of something really bad here. We don't want to start some new technology and have to learn something all over again. But I mean, when our productivity started increasing, when our sales almost doubled, everybody was 100% behind it.
Amazing. So jumping into kind of the connection with your customers, I think that's a hard enough thing to do when you're not entirely remote and online. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how Crown Bees initially started building up that kind of repository and relationship with your customers focused on knowledge and education, and then how you transitioned that into an entirely online space.
So typically we communicate, not really communicate, we message. Our primary source of messaging is our newsletter. And so we use Zoho campaigns linked to CRM, which is linked to our Magento e-commerce site. And so that was our normal form. And then people would chat with us through our socials or our online chat. But that was starting to become a little unwieldy because we had all these other things that we needed to be doing to be getting our jobs done, not just communicating with our customers. So we had this epiphany, the technological epiphany, when we were setting up our remote work tools for our teams, that we could be using this technology to talk to our customers. And then after that initial test that we did, that first webinar that we did, the feedback that we got was so incredible and so intense that we knew we were onto something. And what was really great was we immediately, right after the event, and we saw the numbers and we saw the interactions, we were so excited, we immediately made a survey, a follow-up survey using Zoho Survey. And we asked people, hey, what do you want to hear in the next one? Hey, what did you really like about this? And hey, why do you even raise bees in the first place? And we use this as an opportunity to really talk to our most invested and like we call them our VIP customers, because we've got, between our socials and our newsletter list, over 60,000, followers and people on our lists. But we have a core of about 20,000 people that are our core people. And this was a great chance to interact with just that core people, because we can send out surveys to our whole list. And then we're getting a wide sampling of information. But this survey was really, apparently dialed into our core base. And the information that we got from that was so amazing. Our assumptions on many things were changed, as far as like what people were looking for, how they liked information presented. And we used that to tailor not only our next webinars, but our marketing plan for the rest of the year and a lot of our website content as well. So it was an organic process. It wasn't, hey, we're going to plan for this and then we'll do this when this happens. And we had specific benchmarks. We were just starting out. But through the tools that we were using, being able to see the stats using Zoho Analytics, see the stats of the numbers, the people that visited our site after the webinar, during the webinar, and just consolidating all that information, that really helped us change where we're going now. And I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I guess the bottom line, it was an organic process. It was just something that we had to go through and then adjust as we got feedback. And the feedback was immediate. That was the best thing, is the feedback was almost immediate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like being put in this very stressful situation, pushed you to address something that you had already been thinking about addressing. But it was just like, well, I guess this is the time. I guess this is when we're doing it.
Exactly. And it forced
exactly. And it forced us to change the way we think of how we were going to address this problem, right? Because the problem was a larger, like, how do we, interact with our customers? How do we, treat them better and provide better support? To now, how do we, laser focus our message? And so, looking on the bright side, the COVID situation really helped us focus more on our customers, less on our business and our business practices and our bees, which is important, but the most important is our customers. And so this really kind of like, kicked us in the butt to do that. And the results were so
amazing.
So
yeah, love to hear about a good customer community. So I want to jump a little bit more into the software side of the process of getting these webinars out there and connecting with your customers and everything. So a couple of short questions to start, and then you can feel free to kind of walk through how you implemented stuff and what that was like. So one thing I'd love to know is how many people are working in Crown Bees, and yeah, we'll start with that one and then I'll go to the next one.
We have less than 10 employees at Crown Bees, and we service all of North America. and in our customer service support, there's only 3 people. And mainly it's because our products and services are so detailed and so niche, right? Raising solitary bees, there's hardly anybody that can answer questions about raising solitary bees. So yeah, we're a really small team.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how you can be an industry leader in the bee space with such a small team, just by kind of figuring out smarter ways to reach people instead of kind of trying. Yeah, well, it's kind of a work smarter, not harder kind of thing.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and the streamlining our business practices, that's what we're really focused on for the past year. That's been super important, because as you get more and more customers, you have to be able to handle more and more customer support and fulfillment. And so as our team grew a little bit, but we really streamlined our processes to be able to handle a lot more. And so that was key. I think that was really important that we had already really built that up and we were ready for an influx of more customers, so that when we started doing this sort of successful marketing and outreach program,
Yeah, nothing scarier than getting a bunch of customers right when you realize you can't handle a bunch of customers. Came together the perfect way.
Exactly.
And then I think this is also a good spot to kind of go over which apps you used, and then we can kind of dive into a little more of the nitty gritty with the marketing tools you were using and all of that.
Okay. So we knew that we were going to use Zoho Meeting. We did a bunch of tests with our office, having people connect on mobile, having people connect on various different devices, communications. We loved it. It was just right off the bat, super easy. So Zoho Meeting, that was going to be our base for the webinars. As far as reaching out and letting people know about it, of course, we use campaigns. We already had our ongoing email list. So we send out notifications with that. We use social to make posts on all of our social channels. And obviously social helps us interact with people right away. So when they have a question, we can reply within seconds rather than a day or two if we weren't paying attention to it. But then what I found, which was very surprising, our most effective marketing tool was we hooked up a marketing hub, and we put the code in our Magento site that allowed us to have directed, targeted pop-ups. And so we figured out, just using Zoho Analytics, we figured out which pages on our site were, if people were on them, it had information that was similar to what we were going to be showing in our webinar. And so we just made a little pop-up. Hey, do you want to be a part of this webinar coming up in a couple of days? And I activated that pop-up, and within hours we had another 150 or so registrations, and we started using that Marketing Hub targeted pop-up for our following webinars. And we had so many. Like I don't know if any of you have had experience with webinars, but typically for us, we would have our attendance ratio is about 50%, right? So if 1,000 people sign up, we're going to have 500 people in the event. And so we would actually have to watch our signups, and we had to cut off our registration a little bit early for our last two events because we were well beyond double what our capacity was. So just to back it up, Marketing Hub, those targeted pop-ups were incredible. And then again, using socials to follow up and keep the conversation going about the upcoming webinar. Those were key. Now, the webinar went great. We had all sorts of interactions, hundreds and hundreds of people. I think we had about 1,000 people altogether in the three webinars. That was fantastic. But what was even cooler was as soon as the event was over, we started getting, and you'll all get these too, emails, hundreds of emails from the attendees that registered and didn't show, saying, oh, I just remembered that it was today, or I just missed it. Is this going to be recorded? Of course it's going to be recorded. So Zoho Meeting processed our whole webinar. It was over an hour. And and another good metric that we got from Zoho Meeting was that almost everybody stayed for the full hour and even a little bit over. So we knew that people really liked the content. So we pulled that recording down. The recording was available. We pulled the recording down, made a little quick edit, and put it up on our YouTube. And we've had thousands and thousands of views of the webinar after, over the couple of months after we've done it. So the longevity of what we did, it wasn't just a one-time thing. We really wanted it to have legs. I had no idea it was going to have the strong of legs. People really like looking at those webinars or watching those webinars. So those were the main things that we used. And then, like I mentioned before, we used a survey. We created a follow-up survey, embedded it into our Zoho campaigns with a click, and send it as a follow-up to everyone. Tons of great information. And then there was a little feature in there that we could say, hey, people that didn't check the survey, let's send them a reminder in a couple of days. So we sent that, and then we got another large percentage of people that had been to the webinar came and used the survey to follow up. And the best thing was, like I said, we had all of these metrics pretty much all in one place and reports to validate our efforts and really tell us, hey, all this time and effort that you put into making this webinar, and it was really worth it. Oh, and I guess the final thing, the core of the webinar, wasn't just Dave talking. It was he was using a Zoho show in the background, kind of like what we started with today. And it was, I don't know, like a 20-something long presentation. But because of Zoho Click and WorkDrive, all the team members built that show up from nothing in just in a couple of days before the event, all remotely, all working on it at the same time. And so we ended up with what I thought was a really polished presentation that flowed really well, that everyone knew. And we got to embed our videos and our products and our images and make even last minute changes. And then post that whole show to our website. So people can see the webinar with the commentary or just go through the slideshow themselves. So I guess what's that, 5 or 6 sort of core products that we use to really pull this off. And we're using what we learned from that to move forward on our next webinar.
Amazing. So as far as those 6, because it sounds like you're using those 6 applications very much as kind of a unit, they really feed into one another. So I'd love to know about the process of setting all of those up, and whether you had to reach out to a developer or you were able to kind of get everything working on your own.
It was so easy to get all this stuff up and running on our own. Like I mentioned before, I just went through the help docs and the community forums on the Zoho Support site. Pretty much any question I had was already answered by somebody. The integrations between the Zoho products were really seamless. They just have like big shiny buttons, basically like, what, you want to see your survey in a newsletter? Click here, boom, it's done. I would say not the hardest, but one of the more difficult integrations was just integrating our Magento site with Zoho CRM, so that we had all of our customer contact and purchase history information. But even that was maybe an hour of configuration. Did we have to bring in any developers? No. Did we contact Zoho Support a few times? Yeah. And mostly it wasn't like, oh, this isn't working. It was more like, hey, how can we make this work better for us, right? And the support was so amazing. We would get video chats from developers from in California and India, and in the middle of the night in their time, just coming on because they're working remotely, right? To help us out and walk us through and screen share. And we didn't have too many of those, but it was all a positive experience, and almost all of our questions or issues were answered within 24 hours. So it really was a seamless process for us. It was just a matter of, did we want that to be this green or do we want it to be orange? Just really fine tuning the visuals of it. But the back end
is awesome. I'm really glad it was such a smooth process. Another really question that I have, going back to kind of the campaigns and the social media and all that, I'd love to hear just a little bit about how you have been able to get people to send campaigns to and get people on your website, and how did you get a social media following? Just kind of, how did you build up that audience in the beginning so that you could then drive them to these really successful webinars?
Well, working backwards, to build our newsletter list, we have been using the Marketing Hub pop-ups for, hey, sign up for our newsletter. We have Marketing Hub widgets embedded on our site. So on every page, there's a little prompt and an area for people to just type in their email address. And we also, anybody that makes a purchase from us, right, goes onto that address. I use a program called SEMrush, along with Google Analytics and Zoho Analytics, to really dial in the SEO of our site. And that was really helpful when I mentioned earlier, when we were saying like which pages on our site are most likely to attract or have customers that would be interested in this webinar. Through our CRM integration and those other programs that I just mentioned, we can look and see which are our highest traffic pages, which are our customers that are going there, what are they doing afterwards, and just kind of see their behavior. And also their purchasing habits, all within our CRM customer account view, right? And so we can kind of manipulate and sort that data to see what pages are really important to our customers. We can see what information is important to them that they're looking for but not finding, right? And then tailor our content and our, even our webinars, our interactions, to be answering those questions a little bit better, because we can think that we know the questions that they want to ask, but you really see that through the analytics. And so adjusting our SEO and our content was really important, and so that gets a lot of organic traffic from Google and Bing and things like that. Our socials was really a matter of, we found a good cadence and a good rhythm of posting to our socials, of information on these days, sales promotions on these days, bee information on those days. What are the days and times that people most interact with them, and that type of content. We use Zoho Social really to dial that in. So it went from randomly putting out, just little flares of information, to really targeted, smart postings, so that we know that we're reaching the people that we want to reach when they want us to be talking to them, right? And also like looking at the hashtags that they're using, and the way they interact with our website and our social site. So using Zoho Socials was key for that. And all the while, when we make videos and we post them on YouTube, every video ends with, "Hey, sign up for B-mail." Every promotional email social post that we put up usually ends up with, "Hey, sign up for B-mail." Our landing pages, we use Marketing Hub. If you haven't been here before, if you're a new person, or if you clicked on this social link, a little pop-up, "Hey, sign up for B-mail." So we have been, over the years, like really focused on building that list, and then tailoring our content for each of those people. So it wasn't an overnight 60,000 list. It's been a really concerted effort, and all of you that are out there watching this right now, I'd say, especially now during this time that more and more people are communicating online, it's super important to be building not just a list, and not just having random lists of numbers, but list of your customers, and being able to segment them into, these are my VIP customers, these are the customers that like X, Y, Z, and really tailoring your communications to them that way. And like I was mentioning before, socials and desk help us see all of those interactions that our customers having with our website. And so it helps us really better understand them, because each person is different. Each person not just sees raising bees differently, they see interacting with our company differently, see interacting with our website differently. So when we look at that sort of holistic view of this person that's interacting with us, asking for help, or having a suggestion or whatever, we can really understand where they're coming from and better help them. And then that retains them as a customer, that leads me into, yes, we're not just getting the email addresses, but we are retaining them. We are letting them know, hey, we're not just selling you stuff, we're interacting with you, and we want to hear from you. So it was a really conscious, concerted effort to build that community, and what we're doing moving forward with our forums and our knowledge base.
That's amazing. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of sounds like you had this experience where, while the software could help, cut down on tedious work and having to do things all manually, really what it comes down to in a lot of cases is just paying a lot of attention to your customers, and constantly tinkering and constantly whittling things down and adjusting things. And that is going to be true for every company, no matter how good their marketing team is.
Exactly. You can think you know your customer, but until you actually talk to them or interact with them in some way, that you don't really know them. And this has just been such a wonderful experience for us to really sort of shift who our customers are. And because of COVID, our customer base has changed, right? A lot more people staying home, a lot more people looking into having gardens and helping the environment by providing pollinator habitat. And so people are coming at us with different needs and different wants. And because of all of these interactions that we're having with them, we're able to understand what they need and want a lot better and react a lot more quickly. So I think that would help a lot of companies out there, is just to realize, hey, it's not just my business and my company that's experiencing these changes. It's my customer base. They're going through this in their own personal and professional lives. So let's be on
Amazing.
the same
So,
page.
yeah, I mean, that sort of understanding of your customer is, like, I think, kind of something that every company is constantly striving for. How much would you say that kind of being really responsive with your customers and having that more customer support aspect of it connects to that other level of marketing and community and all of that?
Being able to reply to a customer in a timely fashion is huge. It lets them know that you care about them, lets them know that you care about their issue, and that you care about your own reputation, right? Um, and so, leading into this, over the years, we had accumulated, and I'm sure many of you have, many different channels of customer support and many different channels for people to be able to interact with you, right? So we had, an email address for, you have a problem with orders. We have an email address with, hey, you have a question about bees. And so we had all these different channels, and consolidating it into using Zoho Desk, right, has really helped us to be able to respond more quickly, because before you would be looking at several different email boxes, inboxes. You didn't know who would looked at it. You'd have to forward it to whomever was in charge of that, manufacturing or shipping or whomever. And so the response time was really low, and it lagged, and the customers could tell that we were being a little overwhelmed, because during our high busy times, we're shipping out hundreds, if not thousands, of bees, and dealing with all of these customer support issues. So by consolidating it down into Desk and then creating a chat window, so that people could basically all get their communicate with us in one place, we went from having I don't know, dozens of email support requests and dozens of tickets, where sometimes the tickets would sit there for days at a time because we're over here answering emails and we don't know, support didn't know which had priority, et cetera. So by funneling all that into just Desk and just Sales IQ chat, that helped us with our response time. Bringing our socials into a little tab on Desk when someone sends a message or a direct message or something like that, or makes a comment, being able to see that all in one window. Our support team had access to all of our support channels in one window, right? So we went from having a couple of dozen open tickets languishing for days to we have I'll watch the tickets come in. We'll have 1-2 ticket come in, and then 5-10 minutes later, 1-2 ticket closed. And we have little happiness ratings on our tickets, and so we went from kind of a meh happiness rating because people didn't like not hearing back from us in over a day, right? And now it's just constant. Everybody's happy. We're able to help them out, and because of the nature of our business, we're shipping live bees and bee cocoons, and people really need to have answers to their questions right here, right now. They're like, all my bees are moving over to this house. Is this okay? And they're really concerned. They need an answer right away. So by bringing these all together, we can answer our support a lot more quickly. That helps with retention. That helps with all of our marketing. We're saying, hey, if our marketing says, hey, we're here for you, but then when they send an email, we're not really here for you. That's not really a good business practice. So we're actually able to put our money where our mouth is and really put up and show up for what we're saying, how we really care about our clients. So all of those things together really helped us kind of like, is helping us
Cool.
retain and
Yeah,
grow
definitely.
customer base.
So I want to do a little
answer your question?
recap and then touch a little bit on meeting, but I want to make sure we have time to go through some of the screenshots of your website and how you advertise the webinars and stuff. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand it, so you kind of start with all of these leads in CRM, and you have you have to take that and use desks to always be helping all of your customers and everything, and page sense and survey to constantly be getting feedback and adjusting things and tinkering things, which is a forever ongoing process. Uh, and then with all of those things, you're able to use Marketing Hub and Zoho Social to advertise those things to the right people at the right time. And then that kind of brings us into meeting for running the actual webinar. So if there's anything you want to fill in there, go ahead. But love to hear just a little bit about meeting before we start wrapping up.
Oh, sure. Well, just to back up on that other, how I'm using all of those different applications, it sounds like, oh my God, he's spending so much time clicking through all these apps and doing all this data. And, just by using it for a few weeks, I've gotten it down to, I have one browser window open with each of these tabs, and I have the tabs in order. So when I sit down with my day, I go through each of the tabs in an order, and I spend X amount of time on each one. Because like you were saying, each one feeds into the other. So finding that process for you, finding the process of which apps do I need to do in which order, and how much time do I need to spend on each of them, is going to be different for each company. But what is not different is if I were to sit down as a new hire and my advisor was to say, hey, you're going to be using all of these apps all day, it might seem kind of daunting. So I just want to say, after you use it a little bit, you can really get the workflow down. So it's not daunting, it's not tedious. It's almost second nature. It's almost like checking your email. So moving into using Meeting, oh my gosh, I don't even know if there's too much to say about that. Like I said, we were all working remotely, and I posed it to the team. Hey, I'm thinking about using this software for our upcoming webinar. I'm going to send you a link in like 15 minutes. Everybody jump on wherever you are, however you are, and let's just see if you can do it. Don't do any research, just pretend to be a customer, and let's see how this works. Sent out the link, everybody logged in, everybody popped in their headphones. I started sharing screens. The chat was working just fine. We could switch presenters. Everybody loved it right off the bat. And actually, before we finished that call, that was when I had a couple of teammates say, hey, actually, can we use this for our team meetings? And so that's when we started using it for our team meetings. So it was really, I can't really say too much about it. It was just like we click a button. We all have the little Chrome extension. So if we want to talk to somebody, we just click the little Chrome extension, and it starts a meeting right then, right at that time. So if I want to show something to my marketing colleague, I'll say, hey, pop on the meeting, say, what do you think about this color? What do you think about these words? We're good, done. There's no emails, there's no back and forth. So it was just easy. I can't really say anything more than that. And
awesome, yeah. So for anyone who is a little confused, because we have Meeting, which is what Crown Bees used for webinars, and then Showtime, which is what we're using today for a webinar. I think this is something that comes up a lot, but you can definitely find other resources on this. But this is just a great example about how you can really just pick the tool that fits you best. So for a company that is having these team meetings and having meetings with each other and also doing webinars, Meeting is a really great tool because you can kind of bring all of that into one place. So just in case you were wondering why there are kind of two different places that this.
That's right. That'll go back to like what I was saying earlier. Like, you're going to go through and you're going to see all these different tools and all these different options, and a lot of tools can do similar things in similar ways. So it's really about consolidating it to what are the tools that I need for my business. For example, Marketing Hub is has a lot of similarities with Zoho campaigns. And so it took us a little playing around with it to realize, okay, well, this is what we need Marketing Hub to do, and this is what we need campaigns to do. So yeah, you'll find that a lot, but don't disparage.
Amazing.
Just,
So I
play around with
am
it,
going to
take
take back the reins for just a moment. So we can take a look at some of these slides because we're coming close to the end of our time here. But I will hop back to you in the end so we can make any kind of closing statements and any of that. So there are more than this. Obviously, we also have CRM and several other tools that go into this that we've talked about today, PageSense, all of that. But walking through this process, a lot of them do kind of come down to this area. So this is just for everyone who's been asking what apps exactly. We have them listed, or at least some of them. Yeah, and I also wanted to show just a couple of screenshots just of what these webinars actually look like, because you're able to get this information across to your customers in a very kind of efficient but also personal way.
Right. This is the customer view. I think this might even be a mobile from the mobile app. But it's so easy. You have the little hand raising icon there that can do the Q&A. We put together polls. It was so wonderful, and having Dave there in the corner talking.
Yeah.
People really
and to embarrass you for a moment, I also wanted to talk a little bit about an award that you were nominated for, which is very exciting for this exact thing that we're talking about today. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We were nominated for this Supernova Award for our work that we did in the digital marketing for this webinar series. Whoops. Let me click this right here. We were nominated, like I said, for this webinar series because of basically how we pulled it together from scratch, how we did it remotely. We were actually nominated by Zoho, and a few weeks ago we were announced as one of the finalists. And actually, right now on their website, through tomorrow or through the 4th, they're doing open voting, open polling. So we've been trying to get our customers and colleagues to kind of go in there and drop a vote for Crown Bees as a finalist in the digital marketing category. But it's really exciting for us to even be nominated and to be a part of this. And I guess we're going to find out in a week or so who won. But it really is thanks to everything that we did with Zoho, all of the Zoho One apps, and the support over at Zoho that really got us into this category and to become a finalist. So thank you guys.
Swapping.
And you can go to our site. and there's okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So everyone,
there's a link on our site.
Of course, if you're interested, great to go cast a vote over there. And I also wanted to show, I think this is such an amazing idea. You guys are doing a mason bee harvest party as a live webinar.
Yeah, no, I really have to. I'm really excited about this because every year we're in Washington State, so every year we bring in about a couple hundred people of our local customers into our facility, and we teach them how to harvest mason bee cocoons. This is a really important step to prevent disease and pests and everything while these bees are in their little cocoons over winter. So it's a super important step. But every year we've been doing this for these couple hundred people in the Pacific Northwest, and we have a couple of different locations. But this year, because of COVID, we can't do that in our facility. And instead of saying, "Oh, that's a real bummer," and "Oh man, what are we going to do?" we decided to make this a good opportunity to spread this event through all of North America. So we're having a series of 3 webinars in early October, where we're reaching out to people that have been raising mason bees all over North America, Canada, coast to coast, to be a part of this harvest party. And basically that means Dave, our owner, is going to be on camera and interacting with people, and you bring, their customers will bring their nesting materials to the table, to the kitchen, the garage, wherever they're doing this in front of their laptop. And we will walk them through the whole harvesting process from opening up the nesting materials, cleaning, washing, and storing them, which is a huge step. And it's a kind of a daunting step for being a bee owner. A lot of people don't do it because it's kind of scary and a little seems intricate. But by having these harvest party, we're going to be able to reach a lot more people and have a lot more people have more healthy bee cocoons. And this is also dovetails with another program that we do is called Bee Buyback. We actually buy mason bee cocoons back from people all over North America so that we can store them and clean them and keep them healthy and then sell them back to people in those regions the next year, right? So bees that we get from New York go back to New York, California go back to California. Now this harvest party is opening up that bee buyback program and this harvesting process to people all over North America. So we're going to be getting bees from a lot more places, which just helps bee health, which helps the pollinators. It helps everybody, right? So we're super excited about this. And we're expecting, we just started open registration. We just did one announcement. We're sending out another announcement tomorrow, but we already have 150 people registered for each of the courses, and we're a month out. So we're really looking forward to this. It's super exciting. And it's all thanks to building up on
really amazing. I can't tell you how much looking at your website always makes me want to start keeping bees. This is such a cool event, such a great way to connect with your customers. Yeah. I also wanted to let everyone know, so if you want a little more of a technical walkthrough of a lot of the concepts we talked about today, we have a full case study video and write-up on our website. So it's on zoho.com/one/customers/crownbees. So we have a much more detailed kind of technical walkthrough of a lot of the stuff we talked about today. You can also just go to the Zoho One website and then navigate to customers.
And I want to put that out there too. Like anybody that's watching that has questions about their business and how it relates to what we've been doing, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm super I'm all about sharing this knowledge and this experience that we've gathered. I'm so happy that we've been successful with it, and that Zoho is helping us kind of share that, because I know a lot of people are in sort of a precarious position or and
that brings me to the next place that people can learn more, which is at the Crown Bees website. Yeah, so that's amazing. Thank you, Carl, for being so open to talking about all of this. I'm gonna pass it over to you for this kind of closing statement, but I don't know if you have another minute or two, but there are a couple of last questions if I could just ask them. They're very quick. Great. Let me pass this.
Yeah,
to
no,
you,
go ahead
right
and pass
now.
it to me. I have no problem. No problem. Let's answer some questions.
Okay. So the first one is a Crown Bees specific question. That is, I'm sure that there are bee farms in Hawaii, but can Crown Bees ship bees to Hawaii?
Unfortunately, no. Right now, we can't ship to Hawaii, but I think we are looking into that. It's just that the bees in that area are a lot different from the bees
There's such a deep wealth of bee knowledge.
So it would be really so unfortunately, no, not right now.
Amazing.
There's over 20.
I just want to talk about bees all day, but we can do that another time. So the other last question I have is, did you have any issues linking your e-commerce site with your CRM? This person is worried about duplicating records if they get synced up.
That's a good question. It depends on your platform. We are using Magento 2.3, I believe, and we're just upgrading to 2.4 now. I used an extension. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but if you drop me a if that's relevant to you, I can let you know. We dropped in an extension, and it really was as simple as getting the key from CRM, which auto-generated. We just copy paste that, and then linking all of the fields that we wanted to, or mapping the fields basically. As far as I was worried about that too. I was worried about duplicate customer records, lead records, sales orders, all those things. And what we did was we tested this out in a sandbox first. CRM has a sandbox feature, and it was flawless. I hit a button. We had 30,000 customers at the time, so it took like a day, it felt like a day to sync everything. But since we've done it, it's been a set it and forget it, and we just sit back and watch the information sync. It's a one-way sync. It only goes from Magento to CRM, and if you make any changes to the CRM record, it does not affect your Magento record, which is good. But if you update a name or an email address in Magento, or the customer does that, then that automatically syncs to CRM, and then automatically syncs to Zoho campaigns, and down the line, chat, etc. So short answer, it was really seamless. I would say it probably took about 2 days to really dial it in how we wanted it to look. We thought about bringing in a developer to map some of our custom fields, but in the end, the vanilla sync really ended up working fine for us. So it was a really painless process, which, and it sounds like you were kind of hesitant too, but I was really hesitant. I thought it was going to mess up data all over the place, and we'd be ironing it out and deleting stuff.
Awesome. So this this one more question, but I think it's a great segue into closing comments. So a couple of people in the chat are saying that they already voted for you, which is great. And one person is asking if there's a way you can let them know if you win the award. So, or just kind of where you're going to be posting about that and all of that, and then we can kind of wrap up.
Excellent, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you for voting. Appreciate it. And yes, we will be making the announcement one way or the other. I believe it's in a week or so, but we'll be putting it on our socials. Yeah, so if you look on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this. This was an amazing conversation. It seems like a lot of the audience got a lot out of this, which is always very exciting. But yeah, thank you so much.
I'm glad. Sure. No, thank you guys for having me. And really, I guess my closing comment, I guess, would just be, really, if you go into this process of integrating Zoho One with talking to your customers, talking to your team, or just your business processes, go into it with a process. Pedal with a purpose. I'm a cyclist, so that's how I like to say it. Don't just kind of like start looking at things and trying them out all at the same time. Really go into a process, do a process of evaluation. What might work for us? Do a process of need. Okay, this might work for us, but do we really need it? And then do a process of onboarding, training the people from top down who's going to be using it. And if you do that, it makes things so much more smooth. You can find roadblocks and speed bumps that you didn't know were there while you're in that process. And in the end, it's just so much better for your team and so much better for your customers. So if you go into it with a process, all of this daunting buttons and clicking and configuration.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, Carl, for all of your time and your sage wisdom. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to come out there and hold those hatching bees in our hands, which we were talking about that for weeks. So very excited for that.
I hope you can.
Thank you so much again. And thank you to the audience. We had a great turnout today. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you all in other webinars and chatting with you another time.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent. Thanks again, everybody.